Welcome back to The Pulse. And as I promised you, there are more stories on the Christmas celebrations. The Ghana Standards Authority has deployed a team of well-trained trading standards inspectors to conduct market surveillance in various markets, supermarkets and filling stations to ensure that patrons get value for money. The trading standards inspectors have been deployed deployed in Accra, Tema, Takoradi, Kumasi, and other major towns and cities to look out for substandard products, unapproved products, and fake products, among others, to ensure that marketers do not cash in on unsuspecting buyers and shoppers during the season and beyond. And in the studio with me right now is Director General Professor Alex Dodu. He's here to tell us about this exercise, and I'm very happy indeed because we all would like to know what we are, getting off the market. And Professor Dodu, we are grateful for your time here. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Ma'am Lucy.
And what an interesting time. I mean, it's very important that we discuss this. As the Standards Authority, really, this task force you put in place, what's it all about?
So the Standards Authority, as most people are aware, has been around for a long time, known as Standards Board. One of our main jobs is setting standards, but also checking weight and measures. We also inspect products which are under our domain. That does not include the stuff FDA would look out for. Over the years, we have noted with concern increasing levels of non-compliance with our products. We have made a lot of noise on the issue of electrical cables, where at one stage our surveillance indicated that close to 80% of imported cables did not meet national standards.
Right.
But by taking action, that number has reduced drastically. Now it's below 50. Still worrying. It is still very worrying. And the interest is it should be zero.
Okay.
But from the market surveillance, we realized that checking at the ports of entry alone is not enough. Certifying products alone is not enough. Being that the market is a real thing, because things coming from unapproved sources or products meant for re-export somehow leak and find themselves again on the market. So we got a new law in 2022, which permitted us to appoint inspectors and give us the powers of entry, of seizure, of distraction. And this has been a long period coming because previously we couldn't bite and we needed to rely on the courts. But Parliament said no. Find them, destroy them, no, charge an administrative penalty to help you do your work better, so you keep the money.
And this is the point I ask you. You've been to the market, right, recently. Are we safe?
In terms of, if the question is, most of the products on the market, okay, I'll answer your question. Are we safe? I'll say no, unless we are vigilant, we are not safe. Unless we are vigilant, we are not safe. Why do I say so? I started with the issue of electrical cables. All cables approved by the Ghana Standards Authority, which are on the Ghanaian market, and locally made, 100%. Imported and approved, yes. But we do see products which have not been approved and which have leaked onto the market. They are cheaper, people buy them. Around Christmas, the appetite for consumption is high. And in that high appetite lurks traders who believe that consumers are high. I mean, they are excited. So you do a smart one. And it happens. So I told my officers that this Christmas, nobody's sleeping. We're actually rather going to be on the market. We are not interested so much as arresting people because we don't arrest. We arrest the products. And if you don't bring them up to the standards, we charge you some money and we destroy the products. The law allows us to do that, which we are going to do. It is only when a trader refuses to comply with our order that the law says, now tell the police, and the police will put them in for a long time. Right. Now, if the deterrence is high, people will be protected. Are we safe? If we take product category by category, we have huge problems. We have big problems. Big problems. I mean, this year from January, we were looking at our import data.
Right.
Let me take one product, car batteries, automotive batteries. Close to 80%, 80.
Yes.
Have had to be stopped because they did not comply with our standards. So we actually met the industry and told them that, guys, we've got to do something about this. Of course, it's an opportunity for local manufacturers to step in. Because why import certain things that we can produce here? And if what we are importing are always going to be substandard, the danger is that even destroying them harms our environment, it's at cost, and both customs, national security have to police them to be sure that they are out. So are we safe? Partially. I cannot unequivocally say that consumers are getting the products they want.
I think going into the minds of our audience, as I said now, they'll be asking, so how did it get this bad? Were you not at the entry points to ensure that they don't get into the market in the first place?
We have been at the entry points, and the issues at the entry point forced us to not tell Parliament that, look, give us stronger laws and give us the personnel, because previously we didn't have that power of entry. Right now we have the power to enter if we suspect a substandard product is being kept. Then we come in, of course, at reasonable times, and the law makes it clear that we should give people warrants to be able to enforce that activity, so that people do not take the unsuspecting public by storm. In fact, that's why we have insisted that they are uniformed. Because, you know, if everybody says I'm from GSA, here I am, how do you know? And indeed, our requirement is that you, the consumer, or the trader, have a right to ask them not just for their warrant, but for their Ghana card. Because you want to be sure that this person is genuine and that he or she has been legitimately allowed. How did we get here? I would say that as a country, we were relying on local production. Then we had the bad years of economic recession. So we imported heavily and we became import dependent. Any import dependent country, unfortunately, will tell you that too much import is associated with a significant proportion of substandard products. Because as you import, you need an infrastructure to check the products, not just at the point of entry, but across board. Because it's impossible to check everything coming into the country if you want the ports to work very fast. Now, what consumers do is that they look for the genuine products and they may even fake it in your own country. At the time we caught people doing cables, they were producing it in Ghana, but labeling it as made in Italy, China. You know, so it's, shall we say, it's a network. And to disrupt it, you want to be at a point where the consumer buys. Because for the consumer, they've paid their taxes, so that whether it's GSA or FDA, where it's food, or NCA, where it's your cell phone, they have checked it. So that, in fact, consumers really don't care. All they want is that the state is working on their behalf and that they are protected. As state agents, would we say we have passed? No, I cannot say so. To the extent that we are picking up products which are causing worry, it means that our work is not done. I mean, if you're marking us, I don't know what marks you give us.
So I'd like to know, you know, the Food and Drugs Authority are also into the market surveillance situation. And at this time, the focus is really more on food consumption, drinks and other things. Is that also something you're looking at?
The GSA is not looking at that. And I can assure you, because I happen to serve on the board of the Food and Drugs Authority.
Okay.
The FDA has had inspectors since inception. But in relation to food inspectors, it's gone maybe 3 notches higher. With the introduction of the food hygiene permit for vendors to prevent the incidents, some of which have been reported. And now the FDA is working with several local authorities to ensure that even food which is prepared and offered for sale is under hygienic conditions. I do know for a fact that the FDA has been to the nightclubs to check the drinks and things they are putting in the drinks which should not be in the drinks. And then the nitrous, the laughing gas that, and the FDA has clamped down and is clamping down. What we like to see is complementarity. The amount of work to be done for food, medicines, and cosmetics and household chemicals is huge. The FDA does have the capacity. They do have the human resource, not enough for all of us, but they have close to 1,000 staff now. We also have a similar number. But if you look at it, checking the weight of petrol stations alone, the volumes and the weights there, it's a 24/7 job that a GSA must focus on. So now, if you look at it, we are focusing on cement, iron rods, cables, household consumer electronics. We are focusing a lot on volumes of the fuels you buy, electrical gadgets, irons, and the like. We work in a complementary manner. Should we pick up anything, we inform the FDA. And the FDA regularly will call GSA and say, we went to this supermarket, the scale is not calibrated. Go and check.
So, you know, the masses, apart from this supermarket, I mean, the average Ghanaian wouldn't necessarily go to the supermarket to buy a gadget. I would go to maybe La Paz or maybe Accra to get those items. Are your officers at these areas, or they're just focusing on supermarkets, filling stations?
No, they're everywhere. In fact, in the in the local areas, it's more of education and having a presence to guide people. We were in Gosu recently and Seshuyosu. Their complaint was people buying their maize and other products are not weighing them accurately and they are cheating them. So how do we help? So we have our officers, we've told them to always alert us because really the farms are many and they are widely spaced. And in those regions, we have like, I think 6 in Seshuyosu, 12 in Techiman. Yes, it's enough, but it's not enough at all. I mean, if you look at Savannah, Damango, I think we have like 4 people there. Wa, if I'm not mistaken, is 2 for that big region.
Okay.
So we are not everywhere, or we are not everywhere we should be.
Okay.
In fact, I always like...
So then the majority of the people that are getting items from the open market, how do we consumers identify, substandard goods or even expired goods that are not supposed to be used in households? I mean, those make up the majority of the population, don't you think? So why not the focus on the open market where the majority of the population will buy from?
There is always a balance to restricting trade as well as protecting consumers. Where it's in the area where the Food and Drug Authority is, FDA will say check for the expiry date, check for the adverts, etc., etc. That is up to a point. Obviously, on the market, it's a free show. Nobody's going to check expiry date on the cassava. I mean, well, they can try. I don't know how far they can go. Or check that the kinky is moldy. So that's a challenge. For the GSA products, we are trying to promote and project the GSA mark of conformity. Right. Because really, it's difficult to know what to tell a consumer if they are buying a towel, which has a dye which is dangerous for them. Basically, it's only when they wash it that they will know. We are trying to ensure that our officers are visible to get involved to solve the problems. And indeed, we are dealing with one case where it's a practice issue. Somebody is producing a product which is generating very nasty smell. It falls between the GSA and the Environmental Protection Agency. Quite often, because we have written and also copied the EPA, the non-compliant partner is trying to comply. And that is enough to solve a problem. But some of these rest between multiple agencies. What we want consumers to know is to have belief that the state exists to protect them. In certain areas, especially on the market, it's extremely tricky. I told my officers, till we replace all the skills, Olonka will be in fashion.
Olonka will be what?
It will be in fashion till we standardize Olonka.
Yes, indeed.
Because trying to remove it without giving them something else to use. So we have come up with some innovations for them. The plastic types that you cannot bonder it, and on average, that would guarantee that if it's beans or so, it's beyond within this range. But how many people have it? Very few. Very few. So there is work to do. We have approached our bosses, as in the bosses who are appointed as both current and future. Thankfully, they've all listened. Indeed, I always go on record that Parliament in 2022 said categorically, Standards Authority, you are not anywhere. So we are going to mandate by law that you should be in every district and every region. Thankfully, as of 2 weeks ago, we are in every regional capital.
Okay.
Please don't ask me about the districts. We are not there. I wouldn't wait for the question. So it means that maybe 90% of Ghanaians who are in those places are not getting the service they must get. Yes, we move people from Accra to check the petrol stations. But if they know you are going to come 4 times a year, they wait for you and they pay the fines if they are breaking the law.
So how do you ensure that they do not break the law? Right
now, we have had the chance to bring in an extra 300 inspectors solely for that purpose. I've been asked recently how many we need. I said about 2,000 inspectors.
Okay.
But even then, that guarantees that every district has 10.
Right. So what I would like to know now is when your officers go into the market, are they supposed to be visible, or they go undercover to ensure that people who are practicing or, are caught with substandard products are really, taken unawares and then their products destroyed? What is the criteria? What goes into it?
Enforcement units, we've trained all of them.
Right.
They've all gone to the police training school in Kofredua. They've had their fingerprints and criminal records checked. Their names have been published, ready for the Gazette as well. But what do? They are in 3 lots. The innovation guys look at what is coming into the country that we must watch out for. But the intelligence guy gather the intelligence. And we hear a lot of information from consumers. Then you send the enforcement team to go actually and arrest people. So quite often, we get a lot of people doing concert to us on who is doing wrong things. And the beautiful thing is that when you arrest one group, if they suspect that somebody came and grasped on them, they will grasp on other people. So it becomes, I can't mention names, that we've had one one enforcement action.
So you're relying on tip-offs to give you the...
We get a lot of tip-offs. And when you catch one person, they'll say, oh, we are not alone in the industry. Oh.
Okay.
They actually give you addresses.
And they're ranting out their other colleagues.
They rant on the rest. So for us, it makes life easy. So once you work diligently to get one arrest, quite often the ecosystem is revealed to you by that one arrest, and that helps create more.
And you made mention of a cartel that goes around getting these substandard goods into town. Have you made any efforts in clamping down on this cartel that is, pushing for this trade?
When, let me use one example which is very clear. Mattresses. There's a ban on importing mattresses to Ghana. So our companies, I don't want to mention their names to give them airtime, but you know them, the local manufacturers.
Yes.
They were enjoying good business. Then some bright person realized that materials used to package things imported can be packaged and, then they write made in any country they like and sell. When we got the intelligence, we followed up, confirmed it, went to the Ghana police and said, this, we don't want to just give a fine. Let's arrest and close them down. The police went with us, we did that. After that, we got information now from the local industry that, there are salespeople in other countries, other localities in Ghana selling products. We followed up and it's true. We issued a public notice and we've made a lot of enforcement actions in that space alone.
Right.
So it's like local industry is aware of those who are competing unfavorably with them. And they've been telling us, and with your kind permission and through your medium, we'll tell all local manufacturers that if the product is regulated by FDA, tell them, those who are bringing in the substandard products, because that is the best lead. They are taking your business and harming our citizens. If we know, we'll follow up. And if you don't follow up, please, shame us. Because at the end of the day, if we don't take them out, Ghanaians will buy the products. Because they tend to be cheaper.
Of course. So, the economic situation we find ourselves in, and obviously you want something that is within your budget. But then, as a consumer, what are the things I should look at? How do I determine which is good and which is substandard? Because really, it's difficult to tell sometimes.
So I'm going to start with GSA, but I'll also mention the FDA since it's the festive season. Please, when you buy things, food, medicines, be sure it's FDA approved. Check for the FDA number, check the expiry date, check that. If it looks bad, it looks bad. Recently, I bought an alcoholic beverage. And just before opening the bottle, I told the seller that this looks dodgy. So it's the brand of cognac. Then the lady said, it's genuine. I said, look, if it's bad, I'll call FDA. Because I was with my enforcement team. Lo and behold, I bought it for myself and for personal use, and it was dodgy.
Okay.
When you're a connoisseur, when you taste the thing, you know that, this is not original. So I called it was in the Eastern region. I called the regional manager, I called the FDA head office. They said, call our regional manager, she will come to you. She came, and I got my refund within an hour of my money. And I know they closed down that facility.
Okay.
But how many citizens know this?
Exactly.
And how many citizens have the access we have to know that? So please inform them that if it's food and drugs, they should call the FDA officers. And I believe the FDA numbers are now all over the place. And if you call, I can guarantee you, there will be a follow-on that very moment. I have tried it. I've given the numbers to others. They've tried it, and it has worked. So don't go and buy a drink and it tastes bad and you sit down. Call FDA. If it's a GSA product, especially cables and co, call us. We normally will go and buy the product ourselves. We have labs who can do preliminary tests, and then we'll close on the facility. Please, please, please don't feel shy of state agencies.
Right.
We are paid by your taxes to serve you. Ghanaians, we feel like, I will not worry them. But without that information, we will sit in our offices thinking that all is well. I know my agencies know, that is my sister agencies. The more we go on the ground, the more we see bigger problems. When you say that, are we safe? We are not safe. We shouldn't pretend we are safe. Because the educational level is already low. Poverty is high. People would want to romanticize the fact that the cheap one is good. Because but it's not so.
Well, just because of time, for the sake of time, and just before you go, I'd like to know from you, when did you start this? So far, has there been any success stories? To which extent have your operation been successful?
The enforcement from GSA has been going on for the past 4 years. But the formal trading standards inspectors were commissioned last year by Honorable Freeman in October. And they've been working. What are the success stories? I've mentioned the mattresses. I've mentioned the fact that from our evidence, the proportion of cables imported, which now do not meet the standards, or that we pick on the market, which are not good, are falling drastically. Okay. From like 70%, now it's just about 30%. From our own work, about 80 to 90% of petrol stations are giving the right volume. But even if it's 10%, it's a big failure. Yeah. Seriously. It should be 99.9 or something.
And you talked about the sanctions. How much are these culprits paying?
Thanks to Parliament now, the sanctions are still. The minimum will be 6,000 penalty units, which currently will be 6,000 times 12.
Times 12, yes.
No, 500 times 12. Well, the minimum is 6,000 cities. They go to 12,000. But some as high as, I think, 50,000 cities. And Parliament did a nice thing. They allow us to multiply the administrative penalties. So basically, every day it keeps growing. All right. We're grateful for your time, Dr. I'm sorry, Professor Alex Dodo, Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, giving us an update of their exercise going into the market to ensure that the products you're buying are standard and quality. And that's